Hey everybody, and welcome to the Invincible podcast, probably the best superhero podcast in the universe. This is a show where friends sit around and talk all things Invincible, a comic book by Robert Kirkman, Corey Walker, and Ryan Ottley. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan, joined today by TJ.
Oh, hello, it's TJ.
And Bill.
Hi, everybody.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going good.
Yeah.
Has it been a while since we did Invincible? I feel like it's been a while.
Been a month.
Been about a month
like
or
it
so.
always is.
Yeah.
I don't know. Time's really weird right now.
We talked about Battle Beast getting an appearance in that Skybound X comic last episode, which should be out pretty soon. Should check the date. I think it's sometime in July. I don't know if it's...
I think it's end of July. It's like July 20-something.
Oh, cool. Well, great. That'll probably be our August episode then. This episode is going to be all about Outcast. We're doing another one of the co-creator highlight or co-creator spotlight type books where we're talking about something that one of the creators of Invincible went on to also do, whether it be Robert Kirkman, Corey Walker, or Ryan Ottley. If you wanted to be a part of the show, you can email us, send us your thoughts about that comic that we're reading, or if you have questions about the Invincible comic or the Invincible animated series that we'd love to chat about, send them over to the invinciblepodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. But we also have theinvinciblepodcast.com, where you can find a list of all of our website or all of our episodes and contact information, our videos, easy to find there and everything. We are also the Oblivion Song podcast for now, because it's ending. We've got what issue is it actually? 36?
Yep, 36.
Issue 36, episode 36 of the podcast should be live next Friday. Is it?
Yeah.
Because the final issue comes out on Wednesday.
Yeah, it'll be this coming Friday, the 10th. So the last issue will come out on the 8th. Mm-hmm. So yeah, check that out.
It's going to be a very good episode.
It's a good one.
And I mean, if you haven't caught up on Oblivion Song, I think it's worth doing it. It's awesome. The whole series is just great as a whole. And
now's the time. I mean, if you wanted to wait until it was over, if you wanted to wait and binge it or get it all in one sitting, then that's it. It's over.
Be that guy who can say that they read Oblivion Song before, Jake Gyllenhaal was in a movie.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And that episode has Robert Kirkman on it. So we had a lovely chat with him recently. So go check it out. I also want to always like to say at the top of the episode that we do spoil the comic. I don't know if there's anything coming up in any of our conversation, but we do go full spoilers for both the show and the comic. So just be aware. If you haven't read the comic, please go check it out. We have episodes called New Reader, where you can kind of follow along with myself and two of our friends, including Bill's wife, as they read through the series for the first time, and we get their impressions as they go through it. We're going to start off with some other news items, not too much in the last month. The only real newsworthy type item would be the, what was the name of the company? You guys have it pulled up. Is it just Death Battle? Is that just the name of their?
Yeah, Death Battle.
Put out by Rooster Teeth.
It was put out by who?
Rooster Teeth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So they have an animation side that does these things called death battles, where they just pit two characters against each other. And recently they did a video. It was actually released a week or two ago, where they pitted Omni-Man against Homelander. And I know you guys just watched it for the first time. What did you think?
I thought it was really funny. Like they did a lot of callbacks to all their things that they did, like different fights that happened like in the animated show. Like Invincible and the show. But I absolutely agree with the outcome of it as well.
Yeah.
I think most people here will agree with the outcome. So.
Yeah. I don't know. There are some people that are really attached to that show that probably would say different, but
that video is like 15 minutes long or so. And they actually did a lot of backstory on each character and talked about their, powers and weaknesses and all that kind of stuff, and used that to determine who would win and how. And even after the fight, they're like, yeah, Homelander is good and all, but Omni-Man is just on another level. Mm-hmm. It's just on another level. But
the fight itself is only about 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
So if you want to just catch that, you can just fast forward to that whole scene.
And when they talk about stuff, they also spoil like because they're showing panels from the comic book and they're spoiling stuff from the comic. So obviously if you're listening to this, you probably read the comic, but it does have spoilers in it.
Yeah. Other than that, and this is a little bit of housekeeping type stuff. We have been doing our audio commentary episodes where we've been, 1 year later going back and revisiting the animated series episodes and putting those up, and you can kind of pop an earbud in and watch along with us as we talk about it. We do have to do the last 2 episodes still. Hopefully we'll be doing those within the next week or two. And we'll get those out to wrap that up. We're also going to C2E2. I know that if you follow Radiant Black or Kyle Higgins, they just announced a meetup that is happening the day before C2E2. That's that Thursday, where we're going to be a part of that too over in Lockport, Illinois, and kind of visiting the place that the comic takes place in, which is really neat, and walking around the town there. So, but if you're going to be at C2E2, keep an eye out for us. Message us, let us know. We'd love to meet up and say hi. So, other than that, I do want to include a clip here from our chat with Robert Kirkman. So we after talking about Oblivion Song and all the spoilers there, he asked if we wanted to ask anything else, and TJ's like, well, how's that season 2 coming along? So this is what he had to say.
I mean, while we're already talking about other projects that you're working on, you can keep it super generic, but how's season 2 of Invincible going?
It's going really well.
That's good.
And there you go.
I mean, he didn't say it wasn't going well, so
exclusive.
Really well.
It is going to be super awesome. I couldn't be more excited. Everybody is again putting in like 150%. I think it's going to exceed the first season. And then the third season is right behind it and is going to exceed the second in some really cool ways. I wish I could tell you more.
That's got to feel great though, being able to write 2 and 3 back to back and be like, yeah, we could touch on this here, and we don't have room this season, but we're going to be able to do this. Like,
yeah. And like in the back of my mind, I've got season 4 and season 5, season 6. So it's hopefully we'll have a good long run.
There are more people now that are excited about season 2 and 3 that were ever excited for season 1. Like
it's
the tweet. So TJ retweeted like the announcement. Did you see this?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
So TJ retweeted the original announcement, season 2 and 3 announced, and the amount of how many retweets did it get and how many comments? Like 16,000, like something ridiculous.
So the Invincible Twitter account had an interaction with a fan that said announcing seasons 2 and 3, and then they commented and said source, and then the Invincible Twitter said us, and I just like screenshotted that, and again,
and this was like a year later, and like TJ was like, oh yeah, remember how funny this was? Like this still makes me laugh.
It blew up more than the original announcement did, and I believe that it's because there are so many Invincible fans of the show that discovered the show after the the finale premiered, and it was almost like a re-announcement that there is a season 2 and 3 coming. So it's just going off of what I believe Bill is saying is how much it has grown even since the show originally came out last year.
The show is quite popular. I'm very excited about what this means for the future. So
I was gonna say when the show was going on, you couldn't get the books on Amazon. I mean, are book sales still reflecting that? Like, I mean, I know I can't imagine they're still sold out, but like, are there more readers of Invincible too?
Book sales very strong. Yeah, no, I mean, it's crazy how like when Walking Dead hit, the book sales kind of ramped up. So there was definitely a spike when the show debuted, but it wasn't until like season 3 or season 4 that sales had like ramped up to a crazy level, and Invincible just kind of jumped to that season 3 level like immediately. So it's been crazy how the Invincible show has affected Invincible book sales way more than the Walking Dead show initially affected Walking Dead book sales.
Wow.
So it's been pretty cool.
Yeah.
People just love spoilers. Like, they have to know. They're like, fuck it, it's out there. I'm going to find out where Omni-Man went, and, like, I need to know.
Well, I mean, there's two different ways to enjoy the show. There's the way where you enjoy it cold and you're like, oh, this is a great ride. Or there's, I've experienced the comic and I'm anticipating how they get to certain things and how they handle the changes. And, you're going to read the comic and then watch the show a year later or so and, forget certain aspects and be like, oh, I didn't know that went that way. So I don't think it really spoils things. But, the show is never going to be exactly like word for word what happens in the comics. There's things we're adding. There's things we're leaving out. We're getting into certain things a different way.
Yeah.
So, the comic doesn't really spoil things.
No.
Are we going to find out about that mummy?
Of course.
Yeah, I think
Cahor again.
Cahor.
I think all I can do is just shrug. I don't know. Maybe.
No, that was something that Ryan Ridley, who wrote Renfield, wrote that episode of Invincible. And when he added that sequence, it kind of came out of left field when he turned the script in. He was like, I don't know. I was thinking I'd open the episode like this. Is that okay? It wasn't something we had discussed in the room. And when the script came in, I was like, oh my God, like this is great. This is like the perfect kind of Invincible subplot that we would have done in the comic without any idea of how we would follow it up. And then, and then he would like come up with ways to follow it up and take the story in all kinds of weird directions. And I was excited because I was like, oh, cool. Now we've got something like that for the show that's original to the show. So you'll definitely see Cahor again. And, I think by the time Cahor's story is told, you'll be like,
what the fuck is this?
Where did this go? This is crazy.
Nice.
All right. Hope you guys enjoyed that little clip. There's plenty more of that, which you should be checking out on the Oblivion Song podcast, especially if you read Oblivion Song, which you should have done. Right now, I want to read an email we've got from Luis Cortez, who says, and this is Luis who won the Whatnot comic a couple months ago. Oh, sweet.
Nice.
He wrote in to say, just today I read Radiant Black 13. It was a pretty fun and chill chapter setting up the next year for the comic. I'm again surprised with the involvement of Circle Guy news characters in the series. Us too. Back in issue 5, I thought they would be a fun cameo and would maybe appear every now and then, but now they're pretty much full-fledged secondary characters. Yeah. When can we expect an announcement for Circle Guy News spin-off series? I like Marshall as much as the next guy, but Circle Guy News are clearly the best characters of the series.
Let's go. I'm ready. Nice. Make it happen.
I don't know if all three of us would make it out of that alive, and that's terrifying. In general, I really enjoyed the animated series, talking about Invincible now. It did a great job of streamlining the comic book while accenting the family drama of the main plot line of Nolan turning on Earth. However, I still have some minor issues, of which I would like your opinion. In the show, Nolan goes out of his way to kill innocent people to prove to Mark how fragile they are, which he does not do in the comic. In my opinion, a problem with this change is that it plays down the morality aspect of the conflict. In the comic, Nolan tells Mark the Viltrum takeover would only be as violent as necessary, and that the Viltrum Empire would bring Earth on par with the rest of the galaxy in science and technology. Later in issue 52, Oliver asks Mark if Mark has ever thought if Nolan might have been right, and Mark replies, sometimes. This is a moment I really liked from the comics that I now have a hard time seeing work on the show. Thoughts? Another small issue I have with the show is that before fighting Nolan, Mark is tired of being a hero and sees no point in it. Then he meets Nolan, hears he wants to conquer Earth or Viltrum, and then seems ready to fight Nolan to protect Earth. I think this choice makes more sense in the comics, where Mark is still very naive about heroism and the world before he fights Nolan. What do you think? Thanks for reading my email and sharing your thoughts. Keep up the good work. All right, so the first question here, more about Nolan killing innocent people like blatantly to prove to Mark that, and then and that whole conversation of Viltrum only really needing to kill when necessary, and it'll actually make Earth a better place and everything like that. How do you think that compares to the way it was handled in the animated series?
You can go first, TJ.
Yeah, it was a lot more brutal, but I think the outcome kind of remains the same. I mean, it was how Omni-Man was was brought up, it was his nature, and yet he killed a lot more people, which is it's going to be a lot more difficult, I think, to forgive. But the mindset is the same, where he's like, it's just like where he came from. Nolan in the comic book also did awful things. He still killed the Guardians. I mean, beat the shit out of his own son, and said everything that he did about Debbie. So, but we still eventually forgave him, most of us, anyways.
And in the comic, it's not nearly as violent. I mean, back then the comic wasn't really as violent, and it definitely got more bloody and more violent as it went on. But they still crashed through a train station, like in a subway. I want to say they crashed through a cruise ship or something, or so. Like, humans are killed. Like, people are injured, like, and he calls them like ants. Like, he says, your mother was a pet to me. I think the show just showed more, but I think I think it's still the same. Like, I think Nolan views them and says to Mark that they are like ants. We can kill them. They will only live for a fraction of our lifetime, and it's not a big deal. It just is a little bit more visceral in the show. And then, what I was going to say, when it comes to that redemption and whether or not, Mark saying, oh, sometimes he may have been right. I think that plays a lot into how Mark is going to accept him back anyways. And like we've talked about before, when it comes to, redeeming Omni-Man, I don't think he ever gets fully redeemed. I just think that Mark kind of understands who he was and kind of forgives him to a degree, because he is never welcome back on Earth. He is never back
to Earth. He's not, but I think he does to the readers.
To the reader,
yes,
and to the family, the Grayson family,
yeah,
and also to like the superhero community of Earth. Not like maybe the widespread, but I mean Cecil, the Pentagon.
But even Cecil, it's like, literally his whole thing is that he works with villains. Being accepted by Cecil is like,
I'm saying, like, he redeems himself in every way that he probably cares about.
Yeah. And then as far as the like, they'll just be brought up to our level of technology and science and everything like that. I mean, will they do that without killing people? He's literally trying to argue both when he says something like that and Anissa, they're literally trying to convince Mark that they're there for the right reasons. You know, like,
and I mean,
they don't see killing a human as a big deal. So maybe in the grand scheme of things, humanity would be better off, but there's no way they're doing that without a fight, and they don't care.
Mark could also agree with that or make that statement like, oh, maybe he was right a little bit, and have those people still die, because the only reason why they died was because Mark fought Omni-Man. So his ideals were still the same, to your point, Ryan. Like, if Mark just was like, okay, cool, let's take over Earth, and then they convinced the military to do the same, maybe there was some fighting there, he wouldn't have killed all those people that blatantly in the train.
Yeah.
Do you think that Omni-Man in the show is never going to save somebody publicly? Or not save somebody, but like fight publicly?
Like back on Earth?
Yep.
Like, will Earth know that Omni-Man has come back to a degree?
Ever.
The show evolved, or the comic evolves so past like Earth and
even
like,
mattering,
that you don't even really think about.
It's just like the whole secret identity thing. Like, it doesn't even really matter at some point.
But there's always so much more
with the show
to fill the show.
Yeah. I could see them doing a storyline like that with him showing up or something, but
like him showing up and like saving people, and then people being like, "What the fuck?"
He would never be redeemed, though. Like, no matter what he does, like,
I don't think he would.
So it would be like a.
Yeah.
I mean, what would be the point of that episode? Like, to show that he isn't welcome back on Earth, but he doesn't really.
It would give Invincible some flack.
Yeah.
Create some drama between Invincible and Earth.
Yeah, that would be interesting. But again, at some point, it's become such a space story that Invincible's reputation on Earth. I mean, Invincible's reputation on Earth gets tarnished by issue 60. It's a uphill battle for most of the series. But the other question that Luis had asked was in terms of, what was it? Mark wanting to or willing to fight Nolan in the animated series, when he just prior said he wanted to give up being a hero. I believe that scene was with Adam Eve. Now, we had intentionally wanted to hold back on watching the show for a little while because we binged it so hard, and we haven't gotten to that episode in our rewatch yet. But I think I remember that. Like, he basically says that he, what's the point? He doesn't want to do it anymore. And then later, Nolan says what he's going to do, and he fights him. So we'll talk about that, I think, more when we watch the episode, and we'll call back to this moment of this question that you asked. But off the top of my head, I think that was him just being dramatic from what I remember. And when he's faced with a real problem like this, he's not going to stand by and let that happen.
And it's his dad. Like, there's beyond being a hero. I think he's more trying to convince his father, not to save lives directly, but to convince his dad.
But I think he also realized how being a hero is important when he was wrestling with his own morality and, recognizing Earth, they're my people. And I'm not just going to give up being a superhero just because I don't feel like doing it anymore because it's a little stressful. You do that, then Earth gets taken over by Viltrum. So do something or don't.
And I'm trying to remember, was most of the reason in the animated series because of Amber stuff and everything? Like, it was just too much, and it was just... Yeah. So I don't think that was him being sincere about it not being what he wants. I mean, he's always wanted that. He's literally always wanted that. And that's what he tells Nolan. So yeah, thank you for the email, man. And we are going to move on now to our main topic, which is all about Outcast. So,
which won the vote. It won the vote
on Twitter.
We're running out of options to put. There might be.
Unfortunately, we're not, Bill. Unfortunately, we're not.
No, we're not. We're not even
there
close.
Will be. Damn it!
So many options still.
It was a close one. This was probably the closest one yet. It was 2%.
They're always close. Every single one has been like this
between the winner and destroyer. All right.
It's always going to be. It's never going to be the winner is destroyer. It's always going to be the winner versus destroyer.
Yep. Might as well just do two options on the poll.
Yeah.
But if you want to help decide what our next topic is going to be, we put a poll up over on Twitter where we put 4 different series that are tangentially related to Invincible by one of their creators, and whatever wins is the one that happens. What's that?
Did you just say tangentially?
Tangentially.
TJ, have you ever heard that word before?
Come on.
I have.
That's a normal word.
Can you say it again?
I've heard
tangentially? It's a normal word.
No, it's tangentially.
All right.
In tangent with? Is that what that means?
Yeah, pretty much. I think so. I know how to use it. All right. Outcast came out in June of 2014, and the final issue came out in April of 2021. Last year. A little over a year ago, the final issue came out. Yeah.
I thought it ended a while before that.
No, I think the last volume or so, because it came out, the final issue was April 2021. So there were some things towards the last, 12 issues or so that were going on in the world. It was bounced around a little bit, I think. Paul Azaceta, the artist on the entire series, and of course written by Robert Kirkman. 48 issues. When Robert Kirkman announced this, they had already been working on it, I want to say, for about 2 years. And he announced it saying that this was the first time he had ever jumped into a comic, into a project, into a story like this with a ending already fully mapped out and planned and ready to go. Just to put into comparison, Oblivion Song, he also had an idea in mind for that. And that's 36, we said, right? I keep forgetting. I think it's 36, right? I always want to say 38.
Song?
Yeah, 36 issues. So this is longer. And So before I get your impressions, here is the official description online. It is a supernatural horror story that chronicles Kyle Barnes, a man whose loved ones have been involved in demonic possession since his childhood. With the help of a clergyman, he tries as an adult to unveil, couldn't say that, what lies behind the supernatural manifestations and why he seems to carry special peculiarities. Peculiarities. That's a good word. That's a good word. Peculiar. Nope, I should have stopped while I was ahead. Before the first release, Kirkman also began development on a television adaptation with Cinemax, which began airing in June 2016 and ended in 2018 after 2 seasons. Outcast was officially announced on October 2013 at New York Comic Con. After 2 years of development, Kirkman said it was the first time he already had a clear ending in mind when he began to write. He described Outcast as an epic horror story, hoping to give real scares to readers, unlike The Walking Dead style. Kirkman said that orders for the first issue were higher than the most recent issue of The Walking Dead. So, I'm going to start with you, Bill. What did you think of Volume 1, Issues 1 through 6 of Outcast?
I thought...
And did you before? And did you read this prior? Do you remember when this came out? Like, what is
the only thing I remember is stuff that happened in the first issue.
Okay,
I feel like that's all that I ever read.
Yeah.
So all of this was completely new to me. I liked it. I liked how scary like the demons were, and like the way that they would act and the things that they would do, like the body mutilation and everything like that was really scary. Mm-hmm. I didn't necessarily care for the main character, Kyle.
Yeah.
And I don't know if his character like develops more past Volume 1 into being less humdrum and stuff like that. But by the end of it, I was curious to see what was going to happen, like what more about his history, because he opens the door at the end and it's like the room that everything happened in. So I am intrigued to read more. I didn't really care for Kyle, and I loved the horror aspect of it.
Okay. TJ, impressions and your history with Outcast?
I think I started reading it when it came out, like Bill. I read the first issue. I want to say I maybe read the second as well, but I think that was as far as I had gone. But I watched all of the show, season 1
and 2.
Season 1 and 2.
I thought you had just watched 1. Wow.
Did it try to wrap it up at all, or was it obviously like canceled?
It was canceled.
Yeah, like mid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it ended in a way where it's like
the story goes on, but you're not going to get all the answers you want.
Yeah, it definitely ends on like a cliffhanger-ish type thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah. So that was. And
it was on Cinemax. So was it like unrated, like rated R kind of stuff, uncensored?
Yeah, I mean it was. I mean, definitely heavier than Walking Dead.
Right.
Like that,
right.
You know? So yeah. The show was fucking incredible. It was so good. I was so disappointed. And I just don't think that it had the viewership maybe on Cinemax or something. It was really weird too, because like season 1 came out and then season 2 came out a year later, but only overseas.
Yeah, I remember.
It was
that.
really like, yeah.
I remember you even asking Robert Kirkman in one of our early interviews,
in one of our
him,
episodes,
like, where's season 2?
Yeah, and eventually it did obviously come out, but it was a huge delay for it to be released in the U.S. and then it just kind of like fell off. And the story, like the season 1 and 2 were great, but development of certain characters were really starting to kick in. It was like, it was really, that Outcast to me is like Kirkman universe Firefly. Like, why would you cancel it? It was so good. You know what I mean? So yeah. With that being said, this is also like kind of my shit.
So you actually, sorry to interrupt. You actually watched seasons 1 and 2 before reading past issue 1.
No. I watched it. I read issue 1 and 2, and then like I didn't continue it. Not that it wasn't great. It just kind of
until recently
never got back to it until recently.
Yeah,
and
so
then
that's
I watched
what I'm saying.
Seasons 1 and 2, and then I watched. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right,
so
right.
you actually for the first time read stuff in the comic that might harken back to some of the things that you had watched in the show previously.
Right.
Cool.
Right.
Okay.
And like I said, this is kind of my shit. I love horror. I love, and not just horror, but like specifically, like I love exorcism shit. I like Exorcism of Emily Rose is one of my favorite movies of all time. Like all those kind of movies I think are great. This is by far my favorite of the rereads that we've done, or the what is this segment called? I don't even fucking know.
It has like 6 different names.
Yeah, so or whatever this is. So creator
co-creator catalog.
Yeah.
Invincible adjacent.
my favorite, and we'll dig into some of the stories, and I can give you my opinions on comic versus show when we get to it. But yeah, I loved it. I love the whole family aspect. I love there's such a backstory, and this is something that Kyle Barnes has been dealing with his whole life. So you're getting flashbacks on top of current events, and it's just a constant. I love that Kirkman does that too. It's just like, and it's not just Kirkman that does that, but I think Kirkman does that so well, where you're kind of getting. Come on, Oliver, moving my stuff around here. You're kind of getting the whole story in bits and pieces from when he was a kid up until current.
Yeah. So
the villain. I like that whoever that guy is with the hat. Like he reminded me of that scary guy in the Poltergeist. Really skinny guy, like almost the same kind of like demeanor and stuff.
So yeah, like you guys, we were reading Walking Dead and Invincible and everything around this time. And we're like, hey, new Kirkman book. We're getting that. I got the first 6 issues, which is the way how I was able to read it. But I don't know if I even read the first issue when it came out. I might have, because some of it seemed a little familiar at the time, or reading this for the first time. But I didn't remember much of it. And I definitely didn't watch the show. As TJ said, and I thought of TJ while reading this, that this is very specifically his shit. This is very specifically not my shit. Like the exact opposite. Not only do I not care for horror or gore or like a lot of that kind of stuff, very specifically do I not like possession. And so this was not my cup of tea.
Was this actually scary for you? Were you scared?
No, it wasn't. I think it's tough for me to actually feel fear from a comic. I don't know if that is too possible for me. It might be. I don't know. But this has some disturbing imagery in it. And that's the kind of stuff that you still think about long after it's over. You know what I mean? Especially if it affects you in that way. I mean, if you want to get into it, TJ and I met when we were younger because of going to church. So TJ and I have, religious backgrounds. We, at least I for sure have been to churches when there have been pastors like speaking in tongues and doing demonic, possession type casting out of demons and stuff like that. And I think Robert Kirkman puts it best in I think it was the intro for the first one. No, it was probably the outro or, the epilogue at the end. Yeah. He has a letter at the end of the first issue where he's like, this is something real to me that I have experienced in my life. I have been around it, but this comic and this letter is not the place to discuss whether this thing is real or not. But this is very much a thing, whether you believe in it or not. It is a thing that exists, which is probably why it terrifies me. I can't say it terrifies me, but it's why it disturbs me. Makes me uneasy more than zombies, for example, or any of those other type of things, like any other type of horror movies or something like that. Like I'll watch Scream or whatever.
A grizzly shark.
I know those, grizzly shark. But like something like this is just, there's something about, and not only that, but like when it comes to possession, it also has another layer to me that really bothers me, and that's it's dementia, it's Alzheimer's, it's not being yourself, it is losing your mind. And the people and the thing that disturbs me the most is the people around that person. Like if you've ever been in that situation where you're talking to somebody that doesn't know you anymore, or they're not themselves, or that uncomfortable sick pit in your stomach that you get when somebody is not acting like the person that you know. And that's really uncomfortable. So add on top of that some body mutilation and like demonic stuff, and that's very disturbing. So this was, I think he succeeded. That being said, this was really good. It was good. Mm-hmm. I liked it. I mean, it's really well written. I love Paul Azaceta's art. And the way I think this is one of those situations where like Ottley or Walker with Invincible, or Lorenzo and Oblivion Song, where it's like I can't imagine anyone else really doing it. It has to be this style to really make this kind of thing work. Like when you think of 30 Days a Night or something, and like that art style and like how like that is a very specific style in order to tell a very specific story. I think that his art works really, really well for this story. And I mean, I was really interested in like TJ, I'm a sucker for those flashbacks to the family and getting the pieces of the story told the way he tells them. And the ending is really powerful with him going back to that room and everything like that. And like saying like, I'm done with this. I'm like, fuck this. Let's move on. Really interesting. I dug it. I obviously did not watch the show and I will not watch the show.
My question was going to be like, having read the comic, do you think that you could handle the show?
I don't think so. So before recording, thank you. Before recording, like an hour ago, I watched the trailer for season 1. And I was like, oh, cool. Wow. This looks like exactly like the comic. Like it looked like they were really faithful to the comic. And then the next recommended video was a video that Skybound made, which was comparing the first episode to the comic, like a panel to screen type differences and like the similarities and differences type thing. And it was like a 10-15 minute video. And I watched that. So it was like spot on. Like even in the video, they're like, so we had a hard time finding the differences. So this person dresses differently in the comic, like literally changes like that. It was so faithful to the comic. One change that was really disturbing was the little boy in the beginning that's like eating his fingernails or hand or whatever in the beginning of the first issue. Before he's doing that, he sees like a bug on the wall and he just slams his head into the wall and it's all like bloody and he like eats the bug off the wall. I'm like, fuck this. No. But it was great because that video was a great video because I was like, it was a perfect way for me to see the differences and to see how well it was translated. Super impressive. If anybody's interested in that kind of stuff, I would highly recommend it, but it is just not for me.
I will say that the scene in the show that I was like, holy shit. And I think it was the second or third episode. I think it was the second. No, it had to have been the third. Anyways, it was the jail scene where him and the Reverend go to see the guy in the jail. It's fucking insane.
Really?
It's fucking insane. Yeah.
So
I recommend just
nothing
watching
really happens
scene.
in the comic. Like he just like talks to him.
He like bashes. I think he headbutts or slams his foot into him, and he's a little bloody. But
have you noticed that everybody gets punched, kicked, or headbutted in the nose? In this
everybody
comic?
Has broken noses. Yes,
everybody, every single person.
Yeah, even the guy. There's like a random guy on the street. And he's like, "Hey, you!" And they just start like fighting. Yeah. Like all that stuff. I mean, even that little stuff. Like it was his sister's ex or something like that. Or like that kind of stuff was awesome.
That part was really, really good.
Yeah.
When Kyle was like beating the fuck out of him and
the cop shows up.
He's like, it's Dennis. And he's like, who? He's like, Dennis. And then they both start wailing on him.
Yes.
That was really fucking good.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite parts.
So the guy that plays Sydney, who was the villain in the show, is the same guy that plays Data.
Oh, no way. Really?
No way.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Star Trek.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. Also the Area 51 guy from Independence Day.
Mm-hmm.
That's him.
Oh, I never knew that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm intrigued to see what the deal is with his wife and daughter, that whole situation.
Oh my gosh, dude, please watch the show.
No, I'm not going to watch the show, TJ.
because it's not what you might think it is. It's really good. It's really good.
All right.
So are his wife and his daughter alive? Or do we not? So, they are both alive?
I'm going off the show, just in case something's different in the comic, but I highly doubt that.
Well, in the comic, they say...
yes, they are alive.
They say what you did to your mom, you did that to her, and then you hurt your daughter, right? Or something like that.
Okay.
Yep. So I think all we know is that public opinion is that he hurt his daughter. Right. And he was like shunned for that, like, and so on. But we don't know.
Oh my gosh, dude, it is not what you think it is. And it's so good. It's so Bill. You should keep reading.
So TJ,
yeah.
So I mean, we're not done talking about it yet, but like, are you going to keep reading then?
I want to so bad. Honestly, like I have to.
And like it's done. And that's the thing that really gets me.
I am going to.
I want to. Like this is one of the few long running Robert Kirkman things that he ended. And after reading Oblivion Song, like we know he's good at endings and finales and wrapping things up. Like, aren't you interested?
I am. I want to. Like honestly, even after reading this and it just being better than I was expecting it to be from the comic, and it being like it bringing me back to why I loved the show so much. I feel like I have to. The only thing that ever holds me back is that there's so much out there that I need to read. There's so much, but I need to just like even if it's like 3 or 4 issues a month, like just one issue a week or something. Like I got to finish this because it's something that's always been in the back of my mind. Like it's Robert Kirkman does horror and exorcism. How have I not read this?
Exactly. Like
so I gotta
it is such your shit. Remember?
So
like,
you have just read.
And I want to know what
volume,
happens
TJ?
after season 2. Yeah, from the comic. Yes,
But
I've
you've
only read
watched the entire show.
I watched season 1 and 2. Yeah,
but
again, like it cuts off at a certain point.
So you don't know how this ends.
So
and you don't know.
TJ,
Nope.
does season 1 end with volume 1? Like, do you know? Do you remember if season 1 went long past these first 6 issues?
Oh yeah, way past.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I imagine that season 1 is probably hard
like book
cover
one.
book 1. Yeah. But I don't know. I really.
So you've probably read or witnessed the first 2 books, first 4 volumes, first 24 issues.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, I'm not ruling it out. Like TJ, read it first. And then if you're like, Ryan, I know you don't like this, but you got to read it.
But you know I'm going to love it. So
yeah, but you will be honest with me on whether or not you think it will be worth it for me to read it. Beyond my trepidation for this kind of story.
If I were to suggest the show, I feel like Bill would love the show.
Yeah.
But I understand that I'm at the point where like you can tell me a show is phenomenal. It's one of the best things you'll ever see.
Yeah,
but if I tell you that if it ends on a cliffhanger and then you know that there's no more is coming, like I'm not really interested. Yeah. It sucks. It sucks.
That
like Raised by Wolves.
Saw that news
I'm
today.
just not interested in that anyways. So that could go. Season 2 was not good.
Oh.
But all it did was raise questions. That's all it did. More questions, and it made you interested. But yeah.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to the Reverend. I know it's Reverend something, but I can't remember his name. And I really liked him. I liked that he is like playing poker and smoking in the back room and like taking the winnings to like help pay for the church. And like, I don't know. I liked his character a lot. Just thought he was cool. Yeah. Really interested to see what would happen with him after having that actual face-to-face with the main bad guy.
Oh, that's the last we see of him, right? With the panic. Yeah.
Carving up his chest.
Which I think is also surprising that you get that story so like early on. Shit is already changing like drastically with main characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, and that's a big thing that I wanted to talk about. And Bill, I'm glad you brought it up. Kyle is awful. He is just a terrible character, or not character, but person. And if we know anything about Robert Kirkman and look at how Nate changed in across all of his issues in Oblivion Song or any other character, I feel like he's starting him in such a really low, shitty place that he's got to have something planned for him that's so different. And TJ's smirking, so it's got to be like putting him in this position. I think is intentional, Bill, because he is kind of awful, and completely unlikable.
Yeah, there's just nothing. Yeah, that's it. It's like as a main character, I'm like, unlikable.
All right, TJ.
I want to say like there's something specific that will happen to Kyle that I know that both of you will love.
Yeah.
Because it's happened in other like things and you guys will fucking eat that shit up. There are certain things that happen, like especially in season 2, that you guys will.
But what if the things
really
that you're
think you'll like
excited
the
about?
show.
What if the things that happened in the show that happened to Kyle don't happen in the comic book? You don't know.
True, but it's a big thing.
That's so it could. There's big things
that carries story too. Like, that's gonna happen.
Yeah. So there's 4 hardcovers. There is also an omnibus. I want to say it's one big book as well. So
I think you're right. I think it's all in one. Maybe I'll just get that.
I'm gonna say TJ. So that'd be nice to pass around.
Cool.
The more we're talking about it, the more I am interested to see how it ends and what these things are.
Too.
And I think I will, because I am interested in watching it now, TJ. But I think I'll read it in its entirety before
watching it.
Yeah. And that's the way to do it. You're right.
Yeah.
Do that. And then,
I was interested in Haunt and, some storylines, even Super Dinosaur, interested in some storylines and like tangentially and fun and stuff like that. But there's something about this book where the way the story is told is what is most intriguing to me. And with those flashbacks and with Paul Azaceta's art and everything like that, I am more interested than just, what's going on with his wife and daughter? Like how they tell that story is actually more interesting to me in this book versus some of the other books that we read. So yeah. But I'll wait to see what you guys think as you read further. So that does it for Outcast. We do have a letter that was sent in by our good friend Mitch. All right, Mitch says, "Hey friends, Outcast was my 3rd Kirkman story after The Walking Dead and Invincible. It was actually part of my introduction to horror just in general, and I think that this is a great mix of horror and grit that makes for an interesting story. While definitely not my favorite horror piece ever, it is an interesting read. Which scene in the first volume did you find the most interesting / disturbing? I always think back to the interrogation scene myself. The last few scenes of the volume are killer too. Thanks, Never Destroyer, Mitch Krasson."
This is why he's the villain of the podcast. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I mean, one scene that stood out for me was that guy. When he bit that girl's Now, was that his partner's wife?
Yeah. Yes, it was his partner's wife.
Okay.
Or was he also a cop? I don't remember. I know is that him and his wife were best friends with this guy. They take care of this guy. He comes over anytime he's sick or not feeling well. And then he goes up to her, kisses her, bites off her tongue. And then the next page is the husband coming home, and it wasn't blood. God. Yeah, there's blood everywhere, but it was everywhere. What he said too, man. It was so.
Oh yeah, he started to.
It sounds like a Kuthal.
It's disturbing.
Hello, yeah, Luke, and then ... I'm sorry. Like no.
I wish people could understand how afraid Ryan actually is of this. If you start talking to Ryan about a scary story or like
his eyes will water.
His eyes will start to water. He won't cry. It's not crying to make
it's just some kind of reaction. And my body just tenses up and it comes out my eyes.
But you have the same smile that you have on right now because it's like a nervous smile.
You're doing it to me. Ridiculous. All right.
For me, I think it's more the opening and then when they go back to the kid. Just something about kids is fucking terrifying.
And there's plenty of kids in here, especially with Kyle being younger and everything with his mother and what she did to him and like hiding in the cupboard and all that.
But I love the scenes where it's like, oh, this is fake. And then like the exorcist or the demon, will say something personal and you're like, oh shit. Like, and the kid said something to Kyle about
that stuff. Ugh.
Yeah, like the about
your wife or
about his wife. I think he said something about the closet.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
He said something about the closet, and then how the callbacks to every time every one of them would call him Outcast, and like being like, oh shit, like there's something there. There's a mystery there. But no, the kid scene is probably the one that sticks out to me the most. But I will give a shout out to. I also loved the old woman.
I was just reading that part again because I'm like, wait, did they answer
No,
because obviously she's possessed.
That ends with the pastor or the reverend being like, I am a fraud. Like, I can't even tell when someone this close to me is possessed. Who am I?
Yeah.
And that's where that storyline ends for now.
So I loved all that too, where it's like he realized at the jail that once he touches one of them, they freak out. And then he got called back to where it's like, wait, I touched that old woman and she freaked out. So we need to go back and see her, and like confirming that. And like you said, Ryan, like everything with the reverend, like coming to realization that this is real and he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Like, I love all that. That scene sticks out to me too. I really liked this a lot. A lot. I really did.
I'm definitely going to read it all the way through, because the more we're talking about these individual parts, like, and I don't normally like comic books. Like I like my comic books to have a little bit more Zhang Zipow kind of stuff. Not
the Zhang Zipow
stories.
Yeah, this is wordy, but
but good, but like good fucking
yeah. It also kind of reminds me of Stillwater. I read the first 6 issues of that, and that was really good.
It was so good.
Yeah,
I think I read the first 4 or 5.
Yeah, but it has a similar tone to that small town. The art style is somewhat similar. So that does it for Outcast. I'm excited to see what you guys think of the future of it, but we'll see. We're gonna move on now to talk about some other stuff before we wrap up this episode. Movies, games, TV shows, music, comic books, anything else that you guys have been into. TJ is shaking your head.
Because there's so much.
There is so much. There is. And we don't have to go at length into anything. Just something that you want to share. Like off the top of my head, TJ, did you watch the extended outtakes or whatever for Inside?
No, not yet. I have it on my things. I literally, since all this week, I have been able to breathe.
Yeah.
The Bo Burnham thing?
Yeah. He put together a video of like outtakes and cut content and stuff like that. It
that
literally
didn't make it into Inside.
It doesn't feel like a blooper reel or anything like that. It feels like a sequel. Like it just feels like the extended edition. Like
how long is it? How much is it?
Like an hour long. It's just another. It's just another.
So it's a sequel.
And it's just
but
on
it's
his
not.
YouTube.
And it's not. Obviously, it's not as polished and not as good. Like the first one tells a very clear story. This doesn't really. You can see why he cut all this stuff, but there are full songs in it. There are full jokes in it. There are like it shows like it'll show us the image will be like 12 screens of him doing this of different takes. It'll be like, all right, I'm doing this song, and it'll be 12 versions, and then they'll blip away when he messes up. So it's like all of them going off at once, and then one of them will mess up, and they'll blink out, leaving only the final cut, the one that stuck with it. So you get to see all the times that he messes up. Like he does that a couple times. Like so, there's some behind the scenes stuff in there as well. It's not just a fully edited like final thing. Really interesting though, fascinating. I mean, it's just the amount of stuff he put into this is outrageous. So that was cool. I've been watching, or I should say listening to that, because he extended the soundtrack as well to include those new songs. But yeah.
I think the biggest elephant in the room is Obi-Wan came out.
I'd watched episode 3 last night.
Yep.
I still haven't seen it.
At all?
I watched the first 2 episodes.
Oh, okay.
I haven't watched the third yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I loved the first 2 episodes. Loved them.
I'm beginning to feel ways about it.
So the same thing's happening to me. Loved the first 2 episodes. Watched the third episode. I was like, it's the kind of show where, while I'm watching it, I am like, this is awesome. I'm like really into it when I'm watching it. This is really good. I'm totally digging it. And then after I watch it, I think about it more and more. And I think this is just starting to happen more and more with both Star Wars and MCU stuff, that they're both so big that the more you start to think about it, the more you start to see all the strings and things start to fall apart. And it's unfortunate, because that was what made things like cinematic universes awesome in the beginning, where, hey, early MCU or even Star Wars, when it starts doing tie-ins and stuff like that, it's like, okay, so this connects like this. Yeah, great. Well, we're going on like over 40 or some 40 some odd movies and shows in the MCU, and countless Star Wars media that has been retconned and not retconned, and now it's included and animated and not. And there's so many different voices and so much stuff that eventually there's cracks and things won't line up. And you start to feel like, no, this doesn't fit with my headcanon. And I have this headcanon because I've been shown so much that of course I'm going to naturally fill in the blanks. So then when things don't feel right, it feels like it's bad. And I think I'm going to really, really try to start just enjoying things and not thinking about them so much, which I know is part of the fun. But we'll see how that goes for me.
I have a problem. And TJ, you said you didn't like this in the first 2 episodes where I think you were texting the group and you're like, really, he's hurt from throwing a punch. You know what I mean? Like, how out of shape is he? That's really prominent in this
Really?
the 3rd episode.
And
when I watch a fucking Star Wars Obi-Wan fucking versus Darth Vader show, I want them to fucking fight and be like awesome and threats and cool. It's been a while since I've seen a cool lightsaber fight with Obi-Wan Kenobi. And really, I don't want to see
I like that he's been away from the Force for 10 years and he sucks at this. I like that he's scared and he's broken and he doesn't know how to do this anymore. I'm happy with that.
But at the same time, make him like Rey was. When Rey was like an amateur, she didn't know what the fuck she was doing. Obi-Wan was doing backflips like 30 feet high into the air 10 years ago, but now he can't throw a fucking punch.
But he's also significantly older than Rey. He's also and also this is years after, like, we are getting to the point where they're older men. The Force isn't strong with them anymore. They're not, gone are the days of them leaping over buildings and being all flippy and stuff. Remember, they're actually trying, and I think doing a good job of weaving this into the original trilogy where they're slowing down and making more samurai focused fights. It is slower and it is,
That makes sense because Luke, but then if you watch like The Mandalorian and stuff like that, he's obviously not fighting slowly. He's actually being stylistic and everything. So I don't know. I was trying to have that make sense, but I don't know. I just didn't like it. I didn't like it because like, I don't want, if that's like one of only 2 times we get to see them fight and that's half of the fight, I'm not going to be happy with what I saw.
I think we'll be fine.
So they fight.
Yeah. Way to go.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It'll be all right. Did both of you watch Chippendale Rescue Rangers?
TJ, did you finish it?
I didn't finish it, but I watched like almost all of it.
It's
so good.
Funny.
It is
so
good. It is really good. I got to finish it
out loud. 3 times, like belly laughed for like a minute straight 3 times.
It's not getting enough attention.
It did for like a hot second, and then something else came out because that's just today.
Yeah.
But it was so fun. It was just a fun movie, and
it takes some time to get there.
Yeah, but it is not something that you should critique or look for those kind of bad things. It felt kind of like Sonic, where it was like, you know what, turn your brain off, have fun. It's a kid's movie kind of thing, but there's a lot to find there for people of our age and our age group.
Oh yeah, there were a surprising amount.
Dude, J.K. Simmons.
Oh my god, yeah,
that was great.
I don't want to ruin it for TJ especially.
I cannot wait. I might have some time this weekend. If either of you want to go see Top Gun.
Yes, dude, I want to see it so bad. I haven't seen it.
Everyone I know has seen it in my family, including Liz and my children.
Bill, have you seen the original?
I didn't like it at all.
It's an 80s movie.
I just watched it for the first time last weekend, and I thought the entire movie was not good. It did not hold up at all over the years, except the ending was cool. I liked the ending.
It's so boring.
The ending was not boring though.
Boring.
I don't think it's a bad movie. It's just a very dated movie.
All the jet scenes are like fucking the same TIE fighters flying. You know what I mean? It's like
But everybody I have talked to says this movie is incredible.
Supposed to. I'm worried I've got expectations too high, but everybody's saying that this is like a ride, man. So I'm excited to see it. So hopefully
there are a lot
of
Top Gun fans out there, so they could just be saying that. So we'll
Ryan and TJ. So TJ, you have experienced 4D, right? Theaters when you saw the Batman.
Yeah.
My friends Eric and Amanda, they went to go see it in 4D, and they said it was like one of those 3D rides.
Kind of funny.
It's so crazy.
Does their reviews on movies, and they recommended the 4D experience and talked at length about how this compares to the 4D. And they said this is made for that, and they can't imagine a better movie ever coming out to use the 4D technology.
Because I did 4D one time, and I think it was cool.
And they did say that some movies are bad in 4D, and you should not do it. And The Batman, I think, is one of them.
But I feel like even in the best situation, like when something happens and it like sprays you in your face, it's loud. And like when the fog comes in, it's fucking loud. And it's like certain things that are distracting. Like when you're moving around, you can hear yourself.
They said it's very much a ride. It is like going for a ride, so and you're gonna
That's I recommend doing 4K, or I liked it a lot, or 4D. I liked it a lot. But you should do it with a movie that you love and that you have already seen.
I was just going to say, because it's by trying to make it more immersive, it makes it less immersive.
Yes, and again,
I think it's definitely. I liked it. I liked it even for the I liked it for the Batman, but I had already seen the Batman.
And in the Kind of Funny review, they talk about that, and they do say almost always yes. But with this movie, apparently it's still that good. So whatever.
Really?
Either way, I don't want to do that. I'd like to go see it in traditional format first. But yes, let's go see that soon. TJ, when we're done recording, let's talk spoilers about This Is Us. That finally ended. I
didn't watch the finale yet.
Then we're not going to talk about it.
I think I'm too behind.
Oh, Jesus.
I've been saving it because I like to binge.
All right, well, watch those final 2 episodes and let me know when you're done. But we watched that. I did not watch Stranger Things yet. There's just too much stuff going on right now.
The thing is, so Obi-Wan came out the same day as Stranger Things.
And now The Boys is out.
A week later, The Boys comes out. I still have to finish fucking Ozark. I still have one episode left. I have one episode left of Ozark.
Yeah,
I have to finish Ozark. Barry, I haven't watched.
I haven't started
watched any Barry. Neither have I.
Kyle is telling me that we got to watch Mythic Quest. So that's apparently really good.
I watched the first season I watched all of, and the second season I think I watched like 2 or 3 episodes of. But it's very good.
That's what I hear. So I want to watch that. There's too much. There's too much and not enough free time. That's just about all I've got written down. I mean, comic book wise, obviously some Radiant Black, Rogue Sun. Rogue Sun is really good. They just had an awesome issue 4. Saga was great. I was a couple issues behind, but I caught up on that. It's Saga. I love it.
Beyond the White Knight, guys.
No.
Oh my God, TJ.
At this point, I'm gonna wait.
Please.
Oh my God. I did it last time too.
It's so good. It's cool. Holy fuck. He does. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he takes things that were like you loved in the comic book and it just and he flips them and it makes complete sense in his universe. His universe is like spanning now. Sean Gordon Murphy.
Yeah.
And
I'll be at C2E2.
Like, so he can still take things that were definitive in a comic book, flip it entirely, but it still fits into other things that he flipped entirely. Like, I don't know, man.
I want all of his White Knight universe in good-looking hardcover edition. But every time I go to find a hardcover version, they're all like different sizes. Like I just saw like the other day, I saw the White Knight hardcover deluxe edition, and then next to it was the White Knight Harley Quinn hardcover edition, and it was like way smaller. And I'm like, God, just give me like a nice uniform collection, and I will binge all of that.
He's got. Did you read the Harley Quinn one or the?
No, I've only read the main 2.
Victor Freeze one. I didn't read that either.
Yeah,
the Harley Quinn one went for a while, and that was done by oh shit, I can't think of his name. An artist that I really like, and I'm blanking on his name.
Did you guys, either of you, read 8 Billion Genies?
No. Too much stuff, Ryan.
I know.
Too much.
Who suggested that? Did okay.
Yeah, I did. And I don't think I have it in front of me. But I'll let you borrow it if you want. The first issue is awesome. I told you guys the premise, I want to say last episode of the podcast, because I knew it was coming out, where everybody in the world gets a genie and you get one wish at the same time. Go ahead and wish for it. And chaos ensues because everybody just wished for something crazy.
What is it called? 8 billion?
8 billion genies.
Okay.
Just get the first issue. It's the guys who did curse words. But anyways, it was very good. Really cool first issue. I would recommend it. I'm excited for the second issue, which should be soon. But that does it. We'll be back next month. I believe next month we're going to be doing another co-creator catalog episode. We'll put a poll up on Twitter for y'all to not vote for Destroyer. And
please vote for Destroyer. It's so good.
How long can we keep this going? I don't know.
No,
at this point, man,
any longer. No.
At this point, I wanted to get to the point where all 4 options are Destroyer because we ran out of everything and they have to pay, or we'll get 0 votes.
Keep it going.
And that'll be our next episode. And then the episode after that, really excited for August. That is going to be our discussion on Battle Beast, which we are probably going to have to record right before we go to C2E2. So things are heating up. It's going to be exciting. And before long, I mean, we've got to be getting some sort of cast announcements or something for the show, because we're maybe a year or so out from what we predicted. I mean, we know their voice, like doing the voice work. So maybe we'll start getting some more Invincible related news here before long.
Do you think that we're going to get something like at July Skybound X?
Is there a July Skybound X?
They're doing a convention, aren't they?
I'm just
like another online thing.
Whether it's July Skybound X or San Diego Comic-Con, I'm thinking casting announcements. I think it's still a little too early for trailers or anything, because if they just started voice work, then they probably don't have any animation done.
The thing is with casting announcements is it's not like it was with the first season where like you have so many characters like casting announcements to make. In season 2, like you already know who everybody is playing. True. So it's like Angstrom and like maybe 1 or 2 other characters. Like I can't even think of anybody else.
Cool.
that I would. Yeah. So I don't know. If we get any casting announcements, it'll probably be like 1 person.
You're right.
If anything.
You're right.
We'll see.
Then why would they even do a thing? I don't know.
Right.
We'll see. But we will cover it here on the show if there's anything. So until then, thank you all for listening, and we'll see you around next month. Bye.
Bye.